I guarantee you tomorrow morning we'll be talking about, well, it's too close to call. Perhaps. Or maybe we'll be
Perhaps.
surprised. But listen, folks, we'll get into all that in just a moment. It's the Power Hour brought to you each and every morning, weekday morning, that is 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. on WURD, also known as WURD Radio, 900 AM Philly, 96.1 FM, YouTube, Facebook, the App Store, wordradio.com. It's probably like some underground way in which people are listening. I don't even know about, stealing service from their friends so they can hear WURD. I have no idea. Podcasting. Just tune in. You can always find us. We're right here. Sitting across from me to help shepherd us through this hour-long conversation is none other than Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is America's voting warrior, the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
Yo, and hold it all down. We got so involved yesterday, we didn't even get a chance to properly welcome Kwesa back from vacay.
Yeah, no,
What's up, Kwesa?
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, how were those black eyed peas? Did you get them right?
Yes, they were delicious. I put my foot in them. They were amazing.
Did you save any for us? I'm just curious.
I have like a few left, but they're
I didn't get any
dwindling.
black eyed peas this year.
What?
I'm looking for some black eyed. I didn't get my chitlins, pig feet, nor black eyed peas, so I am looking for some.
Well, we all know who to blame now. If anything goes wrong in
Kwesa
2021.
didn't do chitlins and the pig feet, but she did the black eyed peas. So
Right.
I'll take those.
Oh, folks, listen. Boy, there is so much to cover on today that we hardly have enough time for it. But we're going to try our best to get through this. Again, as we've said in the last couple of weeks, this is we're not taking unsolicited phone calls. When we solicit your phone calls, like in the words of the church, we solicit your prayers. When we solicit your calls, we'll open up the lines and you'll be able to call right on in. And again, we only have an hour, so let's get to it, Royster.
Let's go.
Anything happening today?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that are happening. So let's start in the Philly front here for a minute, if we could, in the very beginning. Commissioner Danielle Outlaw has complained and said that the problem with the 499 shootings this last year was blamed on COVID-19. And that it's been a hard year for her, and that, she didn't feel like an outsider when she got to Philadelphia, but she was treated like an outsider. This is all reported on NBC News. And so she's been struggling with what's happening here and all these shootings. And, she said that statistics show that the shootings are increase in shootings all across the country, and not just here in Philadelphia, and that a lot of it's related to COVID-19. So there's some real challenges out there that, we have to take a look at. I know folk have real mixed feelings about Danielle Outlaw. And, I'm like, she came in, literally, she started in February. We shut down in March. And nobody, most people who are alive and working at this moment have ever faced a pandemic before. Not that I'm saying, 499 shootings is not always the work of the police to stop as well. It also has a lot to do with the folk. They have their own responsibility, for managing guns and, addressing the fact that people were locked down. So I'm sure there was a lot of frustration, depression, oppression that people are experiencing throughout all this. I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just saying that there's a lot that went into this last year in terms of, a lot of the things that we're experiencing. And I think we have to really look at it for that.
Well, let me just add one thing to that, just a clarification, because I know what you meant. But so actually, the 499 homicides.
Right, homicides. I'm sorry, I said that.
Yeah.
It should have been homicides. Yes,
Well,
thank you.
it was what you said was the shootings, but I mean the shootings are up too because we typically average about 1,200 shootings a year, and I think the shootings are at about 2,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but still, like, dude, almost can we just call it 500, right?
Yep.
I mean, 500 homicides at 499. You have to go back to like the crack wars and the violence that, came with it to find similar numbers. So I think that so let me just say this. She's right in that almost every major city in the country saw a tremendous spike in gun violence and in homicides throughout the pandemic. Places like New York that have really enjoyed a lot of peace, witnessed the kind of killings that they had not seen in a very long time.
Right.
It's happening all around the country, and it makes sense, right? It makes sense in that we have a government that has not been committed to putting, to making sure that people in the communities are made whole throughout this pandemic, which is, really a shame. You
That's
have
a big part of it right there. People are
well,
struggling.
yeah, I mean, look, it's about money, right?
Yeah.
And so if folk can't get, I mean, again, if you don't have access to money, and if you're talking about people who've been cut off who are already like on the fringes, then that just intensifies everything. I mean, some of these killings don't even make sense. There was a murder. Actually, two people were killed, one by the police, and as they were shooting him to stop him from shooting in the crowd, he inadvertently shot and killed his own son before he was shot by the police over a parking space on Christmas night.
Yes.
All of this is alleged, right? I mean, so this is the reporting out, and the family, though, has seen the video footage and have since kind of backed off of their objections to the way that they viewed it. So, as more facts come out, but again, people are extremely tense right now. People are anxious, they're uncertain, and it's not just in Philadelphia, it's everywhere. Now, that being said, you're the commissioner of the police department now. So the buck stops with you, right or wrong. I don't agree that it's up to the police to stop all the killings. I think it is one of the problems is that attitude, because then you put all the money there and all the resources there. It has to be a community-driven response. You need to spread out, the resources. But until that changes, I mean, the buck stops there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get the job, you get the check. And so, yeah, if killings go up, right or wrong, they're going to blame you. They're going to blame the DA. They're going to blame the mayor. And that's just kind of how it goes. And unfairly, they're going to give you the credit when those numbers go down.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge in everything that she said was just the lack of solving of these cases. Only 16% of the homicides are being solved. And I think that and only 30% of the shootings are being solved. So I think that in itself is problematic. That the police department's just not delivering on their investigative work, right? The detectives aren't delivering what we need to understand about what's happening in this moment. Even the best gun violence prevention programs, require some engagement with community and understanding what's going on. And this is more indicative of what's wrong with the Philadelphia Police Department in that they don't know what's happening on the ground because they don't know the people, because their cops don't even have relationship with the folk that they are working with, because they spend all their time in their cars and not actually, on their feet, in the community, talking to folk, building relationships. That they don't have the capability of being able to get through, even in the midst of everything about, defund the police or, Black Lives Matter movement. If you're a cop and you build relationship with people on the street, they will trust you. But you have to build that relationship, and you do not build the relationship by sitting in a car at a stoplight or a stop sign and not talking to and engaging folk. So
yeah. Well, listen, like I said again, it's a complicated problem, and I would understand her frustration. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. We're both from Oakland, and so I understand the feeling of coming to Philadelphia and it taking a while to be embraced. I won't call the pastor's name, but who's now a good friend, said to me when he came to town, it took a very long time to get what he calls his Philly card before folk. It's like, for years we just kind of wondered where everybody would disappear to. Then all of a sudden one day we start getting invitations. We show up, it's like, oh, this is where everybody's been. So I mean,
we had to test you first, make sure you were real.
Look,
that's what it is,
Hey man, you guys ought to be called the Show Me City, like Missouri is the Show Me State. Because I mean, it's just in 1 year. No, you're right. Philly ain't gonna show you love. That's just not how Philly rolls. But when Philly shows you love, it shows you love. Yeah. And it doesn't, and it stands by you just like you're born and raised here. And so I just say, hey, keep your chin up, Commissioner. And you knew what did they say about Super Chicken? You knew the mission was hard before you took it. Coming into Philadelphia, and you saw the stats. Well, I'll tell you, another hard job is trying to win a United States Senate seat.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we're going to have an interesting race in Pennsylvania because Pat Toomey is not running.
Right. I'm waiting for you to run, man. I'm waiting for you to run.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen. Because then I have to start like saying, I mean, I'm not like really not PC too much, but you got to start thinking about everything you say, weigh your comments carefully, go back and cleanse Mother Bethel's Facebook page of all the sermons where I've talked about, where I've praised Jeremiah Wright. Therefore, by extension, I too own all of his sermons, right? No,
that's right.
It ain't
that's right.
me. But in Georgia right now, this is it. This is Georgia Day,
right.
J5. We've all been waiting on this. There's nothing else to do but to turn people out.
Mm-hmm.
A few numbers to keep in mind. Now, Karl Rove, he of George W. Bush fame or infamy, depending on how you see it.
Yes.
Karl Rove is
more likely.
Yeah, he's been pretty right on his predictions lately.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and look at how he called back in January of last year, he was like, if Biden gets the nod, it's going to be hard for Trump. It'll be uphill. If anybody else gets it, Trump wins. And then once Biden got it, he was like, if Trump can't contain Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, it's over. I mean, so he is now saying that based on the numbers in early voting, for Republicans to win, a total of 1 million people or more total will have to turn out today. Now, this is why that's important. So I did a little sleuthing of my own. In the November general election with Trump on the ticket, and it's a presidential, we know that's always going to be higher, a total of just under 5 million people voted in Georgia.
Okay.
But do you realize that over 4 million of the almost 5 million were early votes?
Wow.
2.6 million early in-person voting, because that's what they can do there. And then another 1.3 million, and so in absentee mail-in ballots. And so I mean, literally, there were not 1 million people. 1 million people didn't vote in person on election day in November. Right now, in early voting, the total has come in at just over 3 million. So it's down about 25% roughly. And so that does not bode well. So if that's the case, if that's where the trend is, then you can probably expect today somewhere between 700 to 800,000 people voting online in person, and not close to what Karl Rove is predicting is necessary for a win in Georgia for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, and instead the challengers would get it. Now that's a Republican who is deeply invested in the outcome. That's how he is seeing it. And, I'm not sure how you're viewing it, but I tend to agree with him that Republicans are going to have to do something that right now all the momentum is against them to pull off.
Yeah, I'm really curious about Ossoff's race. That's the one I'm probably more concerned about right now. So I don't know where that stands. I mean, I'm pretty confident about Warnock. It's going to be a squeaker, but I think he's going to be able to pull that out. So, I just don't know if Ossoff has done enough to really connect with the black base in Georgia to, really warrant all the votes. But I know that they've been really smart about, marketing this campaign with Warnock and Ossoff together. So I think that's the biggest piece that I've been kind of watching. Originally, I was worried about Warnock, but then I started watching and seeing what was going on down there, and I was like, oh, never mind. But, and I mean, actually the most beautiful thing that happened is that they attacked Ebenezer and attacked the black church, and that just really motivated the black vote base to come out. And Georgia is actually could be, in the next 10 years or so, the first majority black state in the Union since the time of slavery. So, you got to be really careful with the electorate down there then, and watching what you're doing. So, I mean, it could turn out that this would be the case. I mean, I'm actually kind of interested in the fact that I have to go back and do some research on this. But Loeffler and Purdue, because Loeffler announced that tomorrow she plans on voting against voting against Biden's electoral college piece. And I mean, part of that is she's trying to pull in Trump voters to come vote for her today. Purdue has not said that, but she said that. What I find, what did it say?
He can't. His term actually, I didn't realize this till early this morning. His term ended Sunday. So he is now, he's now hers. No, apparently not. He is now considered technically the former senator of Georgia.
Yeah, this is what I can't figure out, because she got in by special election, and appointment. Yeah, but her term should have ended as well. But she intends on not voting for Biden tomorrow. So I'm trying to figure all this out, because that doesn't make any sense to me at this point. Because if they were having an election, the new term started, she should be out as well until new senators are elected. So I'm not fully understanding what's happening there. Maybe somebody else, maybe one of our online producers can help us figure that out. But I was looking around. I'm like, why is she still in office to be able to do this? So she intends on voting against the Electoral College affirmation of Biden on tomorrow. And tomorrow is going to be a circus. The National Guard has already been called out in Washington, D.C. Some people might be aware, and we'll probably talk about this in the next segment, but the president of the Proud Boys has been arrested for burning the Black Lives Matter flag at two black churches, Asbury UMC and also Metropolitan AME Church in D.C. He was arrested yesterday. So D.C. is about to become wild D.C. As we deal with white supremacists that are going to be protesting the Electoral College vote at Congress, Capitol Hill, and then also we'll be taking the streets of D.C. as well. And then all the shenanigans that will be going on inside the joint session of Congress to affirm the Electoral College. So we got a lot going on, folks, a lot going on.
Yep. So listen, we'll continue this conversation when we come back on the other side of the break. And glad to see all of you all on Facebook Live. Hit the share button as well. And Robert has a great question. Robert Garland says, why do people like Oprah and others swoop in so late? I find that annoying. Is it an outdated model? We find it annoying as well, Robert. I'm telling you, man, on the funding side of this thing, like talking to folk who are sitting on money like 4 or 5 weeks ago, then they always drop it at the very last minute when it just really can't help you in the same way. So, bruh, no, it's not no, your question's not off. Yes, it is an outdated model. And if you're going to put money up and help, then just do it earlier. So I agree with you. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation because everybody's got Georgia on their mind. We'll be right back.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
These are unprecedented times, challenging how the YMCA works to strengthen community as we have for nearly 170 years. But we've always found ways to help people and communities in times of crisis. Right now, Ys across the country are providing emergency childcare, shelter, food programs, and outreach to seniors. But we can't do it alone. Whether you're connected to the Y or have a fond Y memory, we need you to stay with us. Reach out to your local Y today and stay with us for a better us.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Mondays through Fridays, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest news, happenings around Philadelphia, and of course, our opinions. Oh, what's that look for?
No, I'm just hoping that my mic was actually muted, like, because you were laughing like you could hear me. I was just like, acting silly over here, man, like singing like in a terrible voice. Well, every voice of mine singing is terrible, but intentionally terrible. You were smiling like, I was like, oh, crap. I hope this thing is muted.
No. I was smiling and laughing because I was like, wow, that's another set of short commercials right there. We are like right back. I was like, wow, I was not expecting that. So That's what I was chuckling about. I was like, wow, that was really quick. And going back to our 9-minute commercial segments during the election cycle. That's
well, listen, if we were on talk radio in Atlanta this morning, trust me,
oh, wow.
we'd still be on commercial.
For the next 10 minutes.
Raphael Warnock wants to be your senator because, wait, this is interrupted by a commercial from John Ossoff, who also, hey, did you see this crazy story about this black preacher in Virginia?
No.
Who he was actually the Republican nominee for lieutenant governor a number of years ago, I think about 7 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know this guy, one of those like evangelical preachers out there, but he said that, what's this guy's name? Here he is, Jackson. Yeah, conservative Christian pastor E.W. Jackson.
Mm-hmm. That's old school. EW, yeah.
yeah. He kind of looks like Tony Evans. That's what I thought it was at first when I saw him. But he said that if Democrats elect Warnock and Ossoff, we'll be sending to the Senate 2 demon-possessed people.
Wow.
This is a black preacher.
He evidently has not read Liberation Theology, any James Cone, no Katie Cannon, no Sheryl Sanders. Nobody like that or anything.
I'm just like, bro, like seriously, man. I mean, honestly, look, I try not to go there because first of all, once you go down that road, I mean, who among us has not sinned or who doesn't have issues? So we're not electing people who we think can be our next pastor or imam or rabbi. Right. We're electing elected officials who we hope will at least have some kind of moral center and some kind of ethics, like, I don't know, the Secretary of State of Georgia, who's like, no, you ain't gonna bully me into breaking the law. I'm just, I'm good.
And I'm going to record the conversation just to be sure.
Right, and I'm going to release it to the Washington Post to even be more sure. Right. And so, but the idea that somehow because if you're going to say that, but then somehow you don't look at the people who you're representing and all the myriad of issues that are there, I just think it's just disingenuous, which is why, again, I try not to get into those kind of debates personally about somebody's, whether they're demon possessed or not. Like, come on, man. Let's talk about their policies. Some of those policies are demon possessed.
Absolutely.
But the people?
Well, there's that circle, that crowd of Christians who, believe anything other contrary. So I refer to it as the cult of evangelicalism.
Okay.
So if you ever look at Christian television, certain Christian television stations, and you look at the people, they all look alike. The preacher looks alike, the preacher's wife looks a certain way, and then everybody in the congregation looks like them as well. There is a cult mentality to this, right? And so you have to create a deep dichotomy, which is what Trump has done in this country, right? A deep dichotomy, good versus evil. Everybody that's with me is good. And if you don't believe and act and do and see the world the way that I do, then you're evil. And so there's this deep dichotomy that is actually, a lot of, I think people often feel like, conservative Christians have actually been influenced by politics. Actually, politics has been influenced by conservative Christianity. And there's this deep demonization, there's this deep dichotomy, deep polarization that says we're right, you're wrong. The way that and I always chuckle with evangelicals because, they claim that they have historic faith, yet evangelical theology, as we understand, is only about 150 years old. It's not, there's 2,000 years of Christianity, and their theology is about 150 years old. And in the early days, when this theology was even being developed, it was considered quacky. So it just managed to take root over a period of time because it fed into people's fears and not their hopes. Real faith leads into people's fears. That's why 1 Corinthians 13 ends, and these things are the greatest things, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. But the manifestation of how our faith is practiced today is not our faith, but the faith that these folk practice is not the manifestation of that. And this is how politics has gotten changed in this country with Jerry Falwell, Ralph Reed, and others that, the moral majority that came out, the conservative Christian movement in this country, James Dobson, all those folk that were not just bringing in Christianity, but they were also bringing in white supremacy and centering white maleness as the ultimate authority in the land. And so people have bought this. This is ultimately, it's really caught up in our DNA as a nation as well that we're constantly wrestling with.
That's all right. So Craig
That's not where
agrees
we
with.
were supposed to go this morning, but anyway.
No, it is, but well, I mean, but it is related to this because it's driving a lot of what's happening in Georgia right now, right? And you're right. It's not just simply so if you agree with me, then you're right. If you don't, then you're wrong.
Yeah.
That's one thing, right? Which is, look, no, I absolutely disagree with you that, this should be legal, this should be illegal. But it is that you are inherently evil, that there is something possessing you. Because when you take it to that, now all of a sudden people have to do some kind of exorcism on you to get that demon out of you, right? I mean, you are justified in hurting people. You're justified in, removing people because you're doing God's bidding.
Right. Now,
it is you're removing an evil, And I mean, look, let's be honest. This is a part of what's going on right now in D.C. today, with the Proud Boys rolling up. You mentioned that their leader has been arrested. I'm not sure if he's been bailed out yet, but this stems from these earlier charges. He knew when he came back to D.C. that he'd be arrested. This helps his whole,
he becomes a martyr. Yeah, he becomes a martyr in all this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the man got me, right? But they're talking about on Parler, kind of the new place folk are going where they're leaving Twitter, where the president is, I guess a lot of his minions are going, but talking about burning DC to the ground. Again, this is the concern that I have for people who are sticking their necks out to protect democracy. Folk that I disagree with on principle on a lot of things, like a Governor Kemp, I still think that what he did was unforgivable about how he stole, how he stole that election. But the fact that he stand up for democracy now makes him a target, because again, he's not just wrong. To your point, he has been possessed.
That's right,
and not just by a demon, but he's been conjured by black women.
Absolutely, that's right. That's what they're saying. That's what Trump said on the call. Trump said, "She's got y'all looking like fools. Stacey Abrams is playing you like suckers." That comes from, historically, the idea that black people and black women in particular could conjure. That's right.
Conjure, use magic against their owners in air quotes, their masters, and thereby get them to do their bidding. And so now Stacey Abrams, can I just say this? How fitting is it that it was Stacey Abrams organizing that took Trump down in Georgia, considering he started off his presidency with a campaign against black women? Harriet Tubman is supposed to be on the $20 bill by now.
That's right.
But instead, he left that racist who he loves so much, Andrew Jackson, on there, and Tubman got pushed to the back in the mint. And now it's black women in particular who took his knees out in the presidential election. How fitting is that?
That's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I mean, I was very glad that Pennsylvania was the one that delivered the votes to put Joe Biden over the top. But I think it's very fitting that Georgia would be the one that would completely and utterly decimate Trump's power in this election cycle for him and the Republicans. Or the Trumpikins. I'm not even going to call them Republicans, the Trumpikins. Because I always have to remember that my grandfather was a Republican city commissioner, a city committeeman here in Philadelphia. And so there's a difference between being a Republican and a Trumpikin. They're not the same thing.
Oh, Lord. Well, listen, so all of this is interwoven together. So while Georgia is going on and they'll be counting the ballots, I mean, again, so if you know folk in Georgia, today is the day, jump on there are a lot of places you can still do calling and texting, but, do whatever you can to, to push and prod people out to actually go out and vote in person. But in D.C., as we talked about extensively yesterday, tomorrow will be a challenge to the certification of Joe Biden's victory. Now, all of the states have already certified their electoral votes. The Electoral College is done. So tomorrow, the senators and the House have an opportunity to challenge it. It's only happened twice in history, and it's been minor kind of things compared to this. This is actually a farce, right? The other two may have been, but this is a farce on a whole new level, where you have 100 or more U.S. House reps, a dozen or so U.S. senators who are saying they're going to challenge this. And here's the problem. So each state that gets challenged, they have to then pause. And then they address that challenge, which means physically moving from one room to another, bringing everybody in together, go through the challenge, hear the debates, hear the arguments, and then do the inevitable, which is Pennsylvania for Biden. So we expect this to happen in 6 different states. They say that each one can take 2 to 4 hours. So it is conceivable that you will not get through maybe only 2 challenges on tomorrow. That it could be Friday night before this whole thing is done, with them doing their worst impersonation of Jimmy Stewart in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. This is a friggin' mess.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it would be really great if somebody would just, we need like one of those watchdog groups in this country that are watching, you know, government spending to figure out how much all this mess is costing us, right? How much business is not getting done. Like while they are caught up trying to debate what happens in the Electoral College, there are folks still out there waiting for stimulus checks, right? That should have been done by now. And we should have the $2,000 stimulus checks. There are people that are still out there waiting for resources to help their small businesses and things of that nature. But, you know, we're going to get caught up in something that we know is going to ultimately lose. I think Trump is trying to exhaust folk and just eventually get them to say, okay, you know what, let's let him stay in for 4 more years. This is getting ridiculous. That's not going to happen. But I mean, that's part of the plan. That's definitely part of the plan.
Well, but you know, that is so true. And so because that's how he's done everything else in his business, right? He wears a bank down. He wears an opposing developer down. He wears down a contractor who hasn't been paid. And eventually people just get frustrated and walk away. Now, here's another thing we need to watch. It's interesting that, you know, 10 of the former defense secretaries, dude, including Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, who nobody
and Jim Mathis, who was his defense secretary, right?
Yeah, but if you're talking about like the folk who are in our listening audience this morning, trust me, there's not a very high regard for Dick Rumsfeld, for Dick Cheney or Donald Rumsfeld, right? Yeah. But yet they all released a joint opinion that said the military must stay out of this. So what you just said, though, makes some sense. And I'm reading some of the comments on here as well on Facebook.
Right, said something about Pence in there, too. We should talk about that and what happened with that.
Right. So, but here's what should be troubling to all of us. So this is going to drag on. Now that we understand the rules and how this is going to play out, that if it's going to take 3 days, then that means the Proud Boys and all of their crew and everybody else who starts rolling to D.C. with this false hope that somehow something can happen that cannot happen. And that if trouble starts in the streets and people start, you know, conducting acts of violence in D.C., and should that spread, that the concern is, and this is what the opinion, why they wrote this op-ed, is that Trump could then declare the Insurrection Act and say, I'm calling out the military, and try to then by the 20th say, the country is in such chaos, I can't hand over the reins. I'm not trying to stay, I have to stay because we're in the middle of an uprising. Now, that would have sounded far-fetched a few years ago. But considering how desperate his voice was in that phone call on Saturday, and again, I told y'all yesterday, I listened to the entire call. I don't know anymore that I would say I put it past him to do it. The question is whether or not the military would respond or if they would shut him down.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because if the military ultimately shuts him down, it then becomes a military coup, right? So because they are now not following the leadership of civilian authorities, which is what makes our military separate from a lot of militaries in the world. It's always under the leadership of civilian authorities. So this is I can't use the words online, but it's a cluster of disasters waiting to happen, right? And Trump does not mind pushing it. As a matter of fact, when he was in Georgia yesterday, I'm going to talk about this thing with Mike Pence. He called out Mike Pence and said, Mike Pence can save us. And there's been movement. There was a congressman from Texas that sued Mike Pence that got thrown out in federal court that basically said that Mike Pence has the capability of overthrowing the Electoral College vote and declaring Trump the victor. Now, what a lot of people don't know, and because it was kind of lost in all the news, was that Mike Pence did not even plan on being there for the Electoral College vote. He actually had planned an overseas tour that he was supposed to do with a series of overseas countries as sort of his goodbye tour when he was going out. And then the Senate President pro tem would have presided over the Electoral College vote, because most of the time it's just a perfunctory thing. It's just you do it, you kind of move on, and you keep on rolling. And so in this particular circumstance, Pence wasn't going to be there. So then there was this congressman from Texas that sued in federal court to basically extend the powers of Mike Pence. Pence denied it, didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then yesterday, Donald Trump calls out and says, Mike Pence can save us while he's in Georgia, and he can do this work, right? So now Pence is caught in this crucible of pressure coming from both Trump and Trumpers to kind of step in and do something, although I think constitutionally everybody agrees he doesn't really have the power to do that. But they're claiming that he does have the power. And of course, we know that Trump doesn't really care about whether you have the power or not. You just go ahead and take it.
Well, yeah, I mean, so this is, so and I'm looking at Ant in his comments as well. And Raphael agrees with that as well. Again, this is the scenario that Trump wants, right? His wording last night was, I really like Mike Pence, but if he doesn't come through for us, I don't know. I may not like Mike Pence anymore. I mean, this is how he is. He has no loyalty to anybody but himself. And so, yeah, this is crazy. So let me just say this about folk who are concerned about this. Now, again, there is what could happen in the streets and what Trump could do.
Right.
But there is then what's going to happen in the chamber tomorrow or Friday, whenever they finish this process. Folks, the New York Times had it right when they said that what Mike Pence's role really is like the person who announces the Academy Award. You're the presenter. You can't change who won.
That's right.
You can just read you can read the wrong name. It's not going to change who gets the award. So Mike Pence can do nothing.
That's right.
Again, Trump knows this, but he's putting this pressure on him for no reason.
That's right.
Now, I would have used a different analogy if I were the New York Times. I would have said it's like the Miss Universe contest. And let's say you're Steve Harvey.
Oh, wow.
And you have two contestants. And let's say you say, and the winner is Miss Universe, Miss Columbia. And you give her the tiara and the flowers, and she starts promenading for 2 minutes. And then you have to come back out with your shoulders down and say, I just want to make a correction. You're actually the first runner-up. Miss Universe is Miss Philippines. Can I have the tiara back?
Oh, wow. That's terrible. I remember that, yeah.
I mean, so my point is, it doesn't matter what name Mike Pence calls. The Electoral College has been certified. This is a formality at this point, especially if the two houses, if the two chambers agree. If both chambers don't agree to toss a state, the state is not tossed. The House ain't gonna do it. The Senate is not gonna do it, even though there is that remote chance. But they're not gonna get the House, so it is a moot point. We got to go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll try to finish out this show. Boy, oh boy, we're going to miss Donald Trump in a few weeks. I don't care what you say. As a talk show host, as a talk show host for the last 4 years, I don't care what you say. We're going to miss Donald Trump because he's made our job easy. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back.
What's up, Philly? It's Sincerely Sarita. The school year is underway, but never before has that experience come in so many shapes and sizes. Is the education of your child being left to a smattering of clumsy in-person and virtual instruction? The COVID-19 crisis has created a market for untested virtual teaching models lacking true credibility. Maybe it's time to reconsider and exercise your choice. Maybe it's time to check out Commonwealth Charter Academy. Here are the benefits to your family. 1, an online education provided at no cost to you, complete with laptop, headset, and help with internet access. 2, partnership with the market leader in cyber education with a nearly 20-year track record of world-class learning. And 3, delivery of a safe, reliable, and comfortable education experience over the internet directly to the confines of your living room. Visit ccaeducate.me today and discover the gold standard of cyber education. That's ccaeducate.me.
Jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Livelihood. The new initiative from WURD Radio to connect Philadelphians to resources to help take the next steps in their professional lives. WordWorks.com features career readiness tools, entrepreneurship resources, funding opportunities, and events to expand your livelihood. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report's sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast Baconator. We have some busy spots out there. Southbound 95, Cottman down through Bridge. Busy through that construction. Further south, Allegheny through Girard, a bit slow northbound side near Bridge. Also ongoing construction going. Westbound Vine Expressway, Light Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound University through 30th. A busy ride through that work zone eastbound side. Not a bad ride so far. PA Turnpike, Blue Route 476. They are moving fine. 55 northbound, building a bit north of Deptford into 42. Any time of the day is Baconator time. Baconate them in the AM with the Wendy's Breakfast Baconator. Eat all the bacon you crave with a fresh cracked egg. Try this one AM free with any breakfast purchase offer in the app. There's even been a better reason to bring on the bacon. Always be baconating. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne David Royster. We are prepping ourselves for what is going to happen in the great state of Georgia today. Go out and get some peaches and enjoy yourself, and let's pray for good winds to take place there. That make sure votes get counted well, and that things are going to be transformed and changed in this country. A lot of work. People across the country have gone into Georgia. Georgia's getting a lot of love right now, getting a lot of love from folks. So we are grateful for each and every one of them.
Get some pecans, too.
Yes.
We call them pecans, but down there you got to call them pecans.
Pecans. Is that what they call them? Pecans.
Oh, man, I brought 2 pounds back when I was down there. and Leslie made a pecan pie.
Get some pralines or something like that too, you know.
I think that's Louisiana, but yeah, those pecans was real, man. That's the truth. Hey, sad news locally. I just saw this that I can't think. What's her first name? Is it Ethel Goggins? Is her last name? Black woman. She ran Daphne Jenkins Goggins, who ran for mayor in Philadelphia in the last election.
She was a Republican candidate.
Yeah, Republican. Yeah. Didn't garner much support. Right. Obviously, this is Philadelphia.
African American woman.
Yeah, 57 years old, man, died of COVID.
Oh wow.
Black Republicans and COVID. That's crazy. And I mean, and speaking of COVID, it's continuing to ravage the sports world. Villanova's basketball program keeps getting interrupted. The coach, Jay Wright, tested positive. Yeah. They've had to suspend another 3 games, and just continues to show just how difficult this is. In New Jersey, they are trying to actually recruit people who know how to administer the vaccine. So a lot of these states now have vaccinations that are piling up and not in the arms of people, including Philly.
Yeah, this whole thing, he's busy worried about that. How about worried about saving the lives of people in this country, right? We need, if there was ever a time to mobilize National Guard, some military resources, it would be right now to be able to help get these vaccinations done, right? Get the military, medical corps out to help with this. And they're not doing that. And I don't fully understand that. I really don't.
Yeah. So I don't either. But so COVID is still a reality. So the Biden administration is going to have its hands full with all the other shenanigans. And I mean, you got to imagine, man, Trump's people are going to leave so many booby traps, metaphorical and physical, right? I mean, be like, why won't the drawers on my desk open? Man, dude, they super glued them. I mean, it's like just the level of petty that they're going to follow is everybody's petty, right? But this going to be petty on a whole new level. It's like, where's the furniture in the Oval Office? Trump was like, I took it.
Yeah, the Resolute desk, and which is historic. I'm really curious. I really want somebody to ask Joe Biden, does Donald Trump leave you a letter? All the presidents previously left a letter for their predecessor. I mean, their successor. Oh. And you know, I'm really curious if Trump is going to leave a letter to Biden.
He's going to leave a picture. It's going to be one of his. He's going to leave a picture for Biden. That's it. Yeah,
that's really bad.
That's what he's going to get. So don't expect a letter.
Will it be signed? Will it be signed? I mean, that's a better question.
Oh, right. I don't know. Praying for you, Bernita. I see you for your cousin Nita, who is 35, fighting for her life with COVID. Man. Oh. And for so many others, I just tell you, I mean, like literally, this is, as clergy, we will tell you that we have not done as many funerals or have gone to as many, funerals or been around so many people who have died in such a short period of time.
Absolutely.
Ever at all. And so, we're absolutely out there praying for you all. And so if you have an opportunity to get the vaccine, please do so. And until then, just wear your mask, y'all. Don't cut up. It's not asking much.
My wife got her first vaccination the other day. I think I mentioned to folk that she's a registered nurse, and she got her first vaccination and has not had any problems, none whatsoever.
Man, well, is it like do you get it by osmosis?
No, man. I wish. She was, she had me take her to go get the vaccine. I had to get up early in the morning while I was on vacation.
Bro, that's cold.
Take her to go get the vaccine. She gets the vaccine, and because she was like, well, in case there is a problem or something, at least you're there. So I said, fine, let's go. I went and took her. She got back in the car. Everything was done. It took all of about 5 minutes, then she's fine. And then the other day she's like, yeah, well, I got mine. I hope nothing happens to you. So I was like, geez, that was really bad.
That's cold. I'm like, see, you'll get a vaccine and leave the rest of us out of here.
Well, because of her work, she has no choice in the matter. But, at the same time, I'm like, wow, that's really deep. That was really deep. So anyway, I'm thankful she got it. And, hopefully sometime in the next couple of months, we'll be able to follow suit.
Yeah, man. Well, so listen, before we go today, I know you don't like to talk about sports too much.
Colin Kaepernick for the Eagles. That's all I'm going to say.
Huh? No, they got Jalen Hurts now.
They need Jalen Hurts didn't do anything either. And that third string looked terrible.
They got their future. Don't Colin, that doesn't work here anymore. Now you just create more. They're already in the middle of a quarterback controversy right now, and it's actually Doug Peterson's second quarterback controversy. They don't need a third one. Let's just get that's all they need. But let me just say, I find it because we need a little comic relief before we got here. What is so funny to me are New York Giant fans. Man, they are pissed at the Eagles.
Yes.
If the Eagles had won on Sunday, and beaten the Washington football team, formerly the Washington Racists. Look at that. As soon as I start, Robert in the chat, in all capital letters, why did he throw that game?
Yeah.
That's what you get from New York. So I want to explain to New Yorkers what happened on Sunday. It is very simple. I am from the AFC West of the Oakland Raider Nation. So in the AFC West, one of the reasons I love living in Philly is the NFC East is the closest thing I have ever seen to my beloved AFC West, which is we hate everybody in our division with a passion, with a perfect hatred, if there is such a thing. And so there is a ranking where I grew up. It is, first of all, beat and stop Denver. Secondly, beat and stop Kansas City. And then finally, beat and stop the Chargers. That's just kind of how it is, right? And then if you can't win the division outright, it is to stop them and not let them do anything.
Right.
That's just kind of how it is. Philly is the same way. It is, first of all, stop Dallas.
That's right.
Secondly, stop New York, and then stop Washington. It's very simple. If you're hired as the head coach of Michigan, it's to beat Ohio State and vice versa. And so, look, do you really think if given a chance to let Washington go to the playoffs or New York, that they were going to really let New York go? Doug Peterson did the right thing. Yes, screw the New York Giants if you're an Eagle fan. What did they think? I mean, watching the Giants players post online was the funniest thing. What is he doing? He's screwing you. That's what he's doing. Philly is saying to New York, we can't go, but you can't go either. We'd rather see Washington than you. It is very simple. It ain't rocket science. And you would do the same to us.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. Nobody in the NFC East was going to get past the divisional playoffs, the divisional championships anyway.
No,
I mean,
Tom Brady's gonna beat their heads in.
Yeah, so I don't know that was going to make a difference one way or the other. Hey, but speaking of sports, because politics is my sport, as I tell people all the time, and I've said it here clearly, we want to say congratulations to Daricia Parker, who actually will be sworn in today as a new state rep here in the state of Pennsylvania, one of our faithful listeners. So Representative Parker, I'll say that now, even though it's a few hours before you're swearing in, congratulations. And thanks for listening to us here on the Power Hour. We're very excited for you and all that you're going to be doing in the days and weeks to come.
You didn't hear what happened, though? You didn't hear? Daricia, I got bad news for you because Trump is sending some people to the swearing in. And they're supposed to object to it today before you're sworn in. They said that you didn't win the 198th.
That's wild. Hey, by the way, our chief public defender is not defending you and saying stop it in terms of what you're saying about the Giants. So,
She's a Giants fan. Look, once the Raiders are out of it, I'm like, it's all good. Look, I love Philly now, so I'm going to support my city and the folk that support me. And I say Doug Peterson absolutely did the right thing. Dallas was out of it. Good. It was a good day for Philly on that account. Dallas and the Giants both got knocked out the playoffs at the same time. That's a good day. If you can't go, let everybody be in misery together because Washington ain't going to do nothing.
Yeah, why not? They're going to lose. They're going to lose the next game. But anyway, all right, everybody. Well, listen, thanks for being with us here this morning on the Power Hour. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinion. Thank you, Coatha, for holding it down on the boards. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for everything you do each and every day. And listen, stay tuned for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. Listen, go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
Weight on my shoulder.